Hey Eurovision fans, it's Tom coming to you from Dublin and I'm back for another Eurovision analysis video. Today I'm going to be telling you who I think could win Eurovision 2023. I'm going to go through the pros and the cons for each of them, what I think needs to happen in order for them to win, and at the end of the video I'm going to tell you who I think will win at this point in time in Liverpool. So let's geeky. Okay, so I'll put some timestamps in the time bar for when I talk about each of the countries. Future Tom here. I'm going to be making a couple of appearances in this video just to add in a couple extra things. So the three favorites are Sweden, Finland and Ukraine. Just to be clear, I really like all three of these songs. I'd be very happy if any of them won. I've been to 4 Eurovisions and 2 of them were in Sweden and Ukraine. So I would absolutely love to go back to them again. I would also love if Finland hosted. So for me, it's win-win no matter who wins. The point of this video is to talk about the favorites, build up a little bit of hype. I wish there was a little bit less of Team A versus Team B going head to head like a bunch of football hooligans, and a little bit more, wow, this year's so exciting, it could be really, really close at the top, and more just general excitement for what could happen as opposed to partisan bickering. These are the 3 countries that at this point in the time, I can see enough information, enough data that they have the potential to win. I am going to cover some of the other songs in a separate video, like a Dark Horses video. I've got around 4, possibly 5 in that video. So obviously there's quite a few things I don't know. I don't know what the final staging will look like, how the performances are going to be, and also I don't know what the running order is. They're probably the 3 main things that could influence who I think could do well. But I've still got enough information that I think I can make a pretty good case for the 3 of these. So let's start with the big favorite to win currently, and that is Sweden. Loreen singing Tattoo. Now she's been leading the odds since the 23rd of February, so on the 21st or 22nd of February I think is when her snippet was revealed. Now she didn't actually jump up that much based off the snippet. It was only a minute, in fairness, it wasn't the full song, but she went from 10% winning chance up to around 13%. It wasn't until the photos from the rehearsal where we got to see what her staging was going to be, that's when she made that big jump, where she went up to around 22% chance of winning, 3 decimal odds. Since then she's been slowly climbing up and she's currently sitting at 1.8 decimal odds to win. Bookies have given her around a 40% chance. Okay, so let's talk about some of the pros and cons for this. First of all, let's talk about the jury. This is a very clear and obvious potential jury winner. Sweden have been top 2 in the jury for 3 of the last 4 competitions. Every single year, you already kind of assume that Sweden are going to do well with the jury. That's just something that they've quite consistently done. You know, if we go back to 2016, there's only one time they haven't been top 10 in the jury, and that was to sit in 2021. So they have consistently shown that they know what to do. The song is always very marketable, well produced. The staging is very slick and well organized, extremely professional. I think they deserve those placings in the juries because they always send something that's so thoughtful and put together and really, really professional. So I don't begrudge them for that at all, but there's definitely a trend that they know how to tap into the jury and do really, really well with them. That's not an issue. So I'm expecting Loreen to probably win the jury. We have to wait and see what Spain can do. They seem to be big contenders right now, possibly France. And I'm sure we're gonna have some sort of surprise as well from other people coming through when we see some more staging, if someone's come up with a really amazing or beautiful concept. But yeah, it's most likely that she's gonna be 1st or 2nd within the jury. Now, my issue is with the televote. So Sweden recently with the televote have been comparatively weak. I wouldn't say weak. I would love to have the televote results that Sweden has, but compared to the jury scores, it's a lot weaker. So if we look at their average jury ranking since 2016, their average rank is 5.8, very comfortably in the top 10. If we look at their average televote rank, it's 11. Let's go through the different years, what rank they were in the televote: 6th, 8th, 23rd, 9th, 11th, and 6th. So Sweden have never been in the top 5 in the televote since they won in 2015. And that's despite them sending some excellent songs. Benjamin Ingrosso, Robin Bengtsson, Franz, Tusse, Cornelia. I've left one person out. Who have I left out? Too Late for Love. Is it too late for love? Is it too late for love? And John Ludwig. So that's 6 really great quality songs, pretty much all competitive within the jury, but none of them were able to break the top 5. I think the most startling one of those for me was Benjamin Ingrosso only getting 21 points. I remember that being a massive shock at the time. 23rd in the televote. Keep in mind, he was 6th in the odds to win before the finals. I went back and watched that performance. I still thought it was great. I didn't feel like there was any massive flop in it. It just didn't seem to hit the mark. Another pretty startling statistic, which someone posted on Twitter the other day, is that Sweden have not received 12 points from a non-Nordic country since 2015. So the Nordic countries absolutely resonate with these pop performances that they do, but there's no evidence to show that people outside of the Nordics have the same resonance. In those 6 editions since 2015, they've only received 10 points in the televote 4 times. Twice from Poland, once from Estonia, once from Lithuania. So thank you to Eurovision Bets and Pieces for finding out those stats. You know, it would make more sense if they hadn't really sent good songs, but 5 of those 6 entries were in the top 7, quite comfortably top 10 songs, and they're still not getting 12s from anybody in Europe. So this is evidence for me that people outside of the Nordic countries just don't resonate with this style of very manufactured, choreographed, over the top, beautiful, dramatic staging that Sweden is kind of doing quite repetitively. I have a feeling that the casual viewer comes in, for example, each year and they see Portugal and they go, oh, Portugal, what on earth am I going to get this year? Whereas when Sweden comes on, they go, oh, Sweden, yeah, I bet this is going to be like very produced pop with some slick staging. So I just think that Sweden has this predictability. I think even with the casual viewer, definitely within the community as well, but with the casual viewer, I think it's permeated that far because the evidence is showing that they just don't get the same response from the public. Now, last year, I felt that Cornelia brought kind of like new rawness that Sweden doesn't normally have. Something a little bit different, a little bit more earthy, felt less choreographed, even though it was choreographed. And she did better. She's actually had the best televote score out of all of them. She got 180 points, but still not enough to get her into the top 5. She was still 6th in the televote. Sweden have not been able to crack that top 5. So this is the most difficult thing for me in seeing how can Loreen win, because everyone's going, wow, this is like a runaway winner. Now, Loreen did win the televote in 2012. It depends on your personal opinion. I would argue that 2012 was significantly weaker than this year. Like, her main televote contender was the Grannies. Slide humor entry going on the shock value of Grannies doing a dance song. It didn't break the top 35 in a single European country after the show. So personally for me, that it was more humor entry than a great song. So I think she's got stiffer competition this year. So Sweden really need to turn things around with the televote. I think personally the best way for them to do that is to start diversifying a little bit what their entries are. But I also see that when Sweden are getting such good results, why are they suddenly going to do a massive change? I would say the second best way to try and sway the televote is to get in a superstar like Loreen. So yeah, this is one of the exciting things for me this year, is seeing, is she going to be able to turn things around? Her entry does have some things in common with those previous ones. It's very gorgeous, very flashy, similar sounding kind of Nordic pop, but she's such a superstar. Is she going to be able to add in that X factor that wins the televote over and gets Sweden into the top 5 of the televote for the first time since they last won? If you look at the last 6 winners of the competition, they've all been in the top 2 in the televote. It is possible that Loreen wins the jury by a lot and then comes 3rd or 4th or 5th in the televote. She would be breaking a new barrier in doing that and still winning. We've seen people come 4th in the jury and win. Måneskin did that, so did Kalash Orchestra, but in the televote it's always the top 2. Now I'll explain to you why I think that she's so high up in the odds. First of all, I think at this point so early in the season, a lot of the people who are betting on Eurovision are more Eurovision fans. Now that's just my speculation. I don't think that many casual people are voting about Eurovision in February. Another reason I think she's so high in the odds is it's a safe pair of hands. If we look at songs right now like Czechia and Austria, where we're kind of like worried, are they going to be able to put on a good show? What's it going to look like in the final staging? With Loreen, not only have we seen her national final performance and we know that she has a great stage show, we also know that she's an amazing performer. Any kind of doubt about, is she going to be nervous? Is she going to do this well? Is all gone. So it's such a safe thing to bet on her because you know that she's going to be able to deliver. And then also historically with Sweden, we know that they've consistently been in the top in the jury. A lot of it just makes sense based on the limited information that we have now. You might also have seen the video that I did comparing the televote with the fan vote on the Eurovision scoreboard. And one thing I showed there is that the fandom may overrate female pop songs, whereas the televote may overrate any genre by a man. So we know that a lot of people in the fandom really love this song, but we need to wait and see, is it going to have the same effect with the general public? Is it going to have that broad appeal, or is it going to be one of these niche Eurovision songs that the fandom loves more than the general public does? Another thing to consider as well is that she will have to change her staging for Liverpool. In Melodifestivalen, she had her giant screen sandwich, or I'm not sure what the official name for it is, LED sandwich, 1.5 tons or something, and it was suspended from the roof. Cannot suspend things from the roof in Liverpool. That is one of the rules. They also need the staging to be able to get on and off in 30 seconds. So they will have to change the staging. I'm not sure if they'll go for like this type of shape LED, still go for a similar effect, or maybe they'll go for more like a waffle maker. type thing, where it's like a shell and she's still able to get squashed in it, but it's more like a wedge as opposed to a sandwich. Different types of panini store stuff. It needs to be wheeled on and off the stage. It's not going to look exactly like it did in Melody Festival. Now, I understand we don't know yet. We need confirmation. We need to see those pictures from the rehearsals and what's happening. Okay, let's go to the second potential winner, and that is Ukraine.
Get out of my way, yeah. Guess I got a heart of steel.
Now, this one always causes controversy when I talk about it, but we need to be realistic. This is one of the favorites to win. It was a favorite for a long time until Loreen took over, and they're still sitting in third place, decimal odds of 7 to win with a 10% chance. That's obviously come down significantly. They were as high as 25%, 2.75 in decimal odds. So again, I'm going to go through the pros and cons on why this may and may not win, and what the barriers are, and what I think needs to happen. So first of all, we do need to acknowledge their odds are very much inflated based on what happened last year. So last year, Käärijä Orchestra got 439 points in the televote. So to put things in perspective, Netherlands won with 498 points in 2019. So Käärijä Orchestra would have only needed an extra 60 points from the jury to win. So that televote was absolutely and utterly massive. Now, to give context to that, this was around 3 months after the invasion of Eastern Ukraine. Obviously, the original invasion was 2014, but this new invasion had happened several months previously. I think at that point, everyone felt quite helpless. Things weren't looking very good. This was before all the counteroffensives where Ukraine took back a lot of land. So I think that there was this general feeling of wanting to support Ukraine in any single way possible. Plus, I have to emphasize, I think that Stephanie would have won the televote anyway. I really do think it was such a televote strong song. Really fun, really folky, really interesting fusion, great performance, beautiful staging with the eyes and the hands. Ukraine's staging is always impeccable. I honestly, hand on heart, think they would have won the televote anyway. It wouldn't have been that big. I think a 439 point televote is absolutely gigantic. I don't think we'll ever have that again. This is just the odds coming out and people seeing this is a bargain. These people got a huge televote last year. If it happens again, they may win no matter what song they send, and just betting on it. The song itself is not a winning song. It's in my top 5. I love it, but I'm not delusional. I know when a song is something I like and then other people aren't resonating, I can look out and see the response to this is not the same that Stephanie had. It's not as good, it's not as interesting. Again, I love it, but I'm reading the room here and seeing that this is not a winning song. The high odds for this are people just crossing their fingers that there's just going to be a huge amount of public support again. So unpredictable. We've no idea whether there will or won't be. Obviously, a lot of things have happened in the year. Since then, a lot of support has been given to Ukraine in various other ways. So possibly people at home might be thinking, okay, Ukraine knows that we're behind them. But I think countries like Iceland, for example, I'm expecting Iceland to probably give them high points. I think Lithuania, Estonia, countries who have a very strong connection, Poland, I really do expect them again to give their 12s to Ukraine, because this existential crisis that Ukraine is going through is really hits home for them. So yeah, I do expect Ukraine to get a big televote this year. I don't think it's going to be as big as 439. I'm guessing it's going to be in the 200s, maybe 230, 240. We do need to consider that Ukraine's staging is the best in the competition. They always elevate. With some countries we come in, we're thinking, oh God, is the staging going to just drag this down? Is it going to be a disaster? We never have that worry with Ukraine. They always elevate. They are the masters of converting a song into the most gorgeous visual concept ever. They really are the best stagers. So the song is going to be elevated. Let's keep that in mind. They've got a great running order draw. They're 19th. That's definitely a slot that you can win from. I think their jury score is going to drag them down. We already saw last year they came 4th with the jury. I expect them to be even lower this year. I expect their televote to be a little bit lower as well. Personally, I don't see Ukraine winning at this point unless there is that another gigantic wave of support. So yeah, look, it's still possible, but there's quite a lot of ifs. If they happen, they happen, and nobody has any control over them. And if people want to show solidarity and support with Ukraine, they're totally entitled to do that. People saying, oh, we don't want the competition to be political. Politics is part of our lives. We can't just expect people to just switch off their hearts and not care about people in Ukraine anymore. If they see Ukraine showing off their culture and this is making them feel something, like all these people, their lives are under attack, we want to support them. If they choose to support them by voting for them, that's their decision. They're totally entitled to do that. Whereas I think a very strong argument can be made that Stephanie could have won itself. With Heart of Steel, it's definitely going to be because of the public vote if they win. Either way, I hope that people can keep the dialogue about Ukraine possibly winning respectful. Obviously, if Ukrainians had a choice between winning Eurovision and not being at war anymore, 100% of them would choose that. So these people's lives are being destroyed. So yeah, it's good to have a bit of perspective. Even if Ukraine doesn't win, I think they could have a very, very big part to play in deciding which of the other two countries wins. And on that note, let's talk about the third country, and that is Käärijä from Finland. Singing cha-cha-cha. So Finland are currently sitting second in the winning odds at 5.0. They have been as low as 4.3. Let's talk about the case for and against Finland possibly winning. So let's go to one of the positives first, and that is the televote. I think for the majority of people, this is quite an obvious televote winner. It's got televote winner written all over it. The performance is bombastic, it's exciting, it's fun, it's a good song as well. It's going to be something very, very different. This metal rap start going into this kind of like pop schlager ending. The performance is just going to be wow. He's very fun and charismatic and different looking. It's attention grabbing. It's got the X factor. Since 2014, I feel like every single winner has had like a very special X factor. Even Mon Zemilov, who had quite like a very standard pop song, his X factor was this interactive staging that really was groundbreaking at the time. Conchita had like this incredible story and underdog situation, gorgeous staging. Everyone has had some sort of like X factor moment in their winning, whether it be the performer or the genre of the song or their backstory. So whereas people might be going into the Sweden song expecting, oh, we're going to see another slick produced pop song, people will go into Finland not knowing what to expect, and it's really going to shock them. And don't underrate that ability to be shocking, different, new, exciting. That's what makes people pick up the phone and vote for people. So this has an X factor in it, that story that can lead it to win. I think this has got a lot of mainstream appeal. It's definitely going to stand out. I don't think very many people are going to argue that this is a very likely televote winner. Now, this is where those televote stats I spoke about earlier come in. So I showed you earlier that in the last 6 years, the winner of Eurovision has been in the top 2 in the televote, but as low as 4th in the jury. I'll show you now one of the reasons for that. If we look at the average score of the jury winner in the last 6 years and the average score of the televote winner in the last 6 years, there's quite a big difference in that the televote winner has on average 55 more points than the jury winner. Now, I'll tell you why I think that is. Because the juries are quite small, there's only 5 people, they'll have more diverse opinions. So their scores are going to be more spread out. Now, I really like that effect. It means that more people get points. It's more exciting during the jury part of the scores. There's less people getting zeros. With the televote, because you've got more people, you tend to get more agreement. The larger the sample size of a poll, the more you'll see people starting to agree on who are at the top. So the result of that is you get a collection of more of the points at the top. This is something I'm going to go into in more detail when I do my Do We Need a Jury video. But yeah, that 55 points could be quite important. So let's say, for example, that Käärijä wins the televote and Loreen wins the jury and averages stay as averages. That would mean that he has a 55-point advantage over her. So for me, then it comes down to what is Käärijä's jury score going to be? Some people are pointing to UMK saying, well, he did very well the jury there, he won it. This implies that he might actually do pretty well with the jury. Now, I do have to point out, juries in national finals tend to be more Eurovision fans. They tend to be head of delegation or from fan sites, so they've got some connection to the competition already. The actual jury in Eurovision are just random music professionals, so they don't have that same Eurovision knowledge or intensity or understanding. So I think it's a bit too simple to say, well, he did well with that jury, he'll do well with this jury. They are different types of juries. So I don't think it's a guaranteed he's going to do well. For me, this will come down to what is the criteria for the jury this year. So since I originally filmed that video, the jury criteria has actually been released. It's the exact same as last year. For some reason, they've changed the order of it. I don't know why. But yeah, there was some rumors that possibly there would be like a new memorability or virality type criteria that would be added in. That hasn't come to pass. So if we look at this criteria, composition and originality of the song, quality of the performance on the stage, vocal capacity of the performer, and overall impression of the act. Now, obviously, both of those are pretty strong for the two of them, but definitely the vocal capacity of the performer favors Loreen a lot more. We haven't seen someone win recently from outside the top 4 of the jury. So if the jury drag him down into 5th, 6th, 7th, it could reach a point that doesn't matter how big his televote is, he's just out of the running from that alone. Another possible way that he might not win is, again, Ukraine. If Ukraine's televote is big enough that they're sucking up a lot of 12s, that means that Käärijä's score is going to be affected. So some of those countries I mentioned earlier, Iceland, Lithuania, Estonia, Poland, I would kind of expect these, maybe not so much Poland, but those other countries, I would expect them to be giving their 12s to Käärijä. If they're giving their 12s to Ukraine instead, so every time Ukraine is above them, they're either losing 2 points or 1 point, depending where they are in the rankings. And that can just very, very slowly chip away at Käärijä's lead. Like I said, this 340 points that he could theoretically get from winning the televote starts to go down. For example, in 2018, Israel won the televote with 317 points. But generally, the range is pretty solidly in the kind of 300s. So I can definitely see a situation where Loreen wins the jury, Käärijä wins the televote, but Ukraine are so high up on the televote that they've taken a lot of those televote points, and actually Loreen maybe comes maybe third or fourth of the televote, but because some of Käärijä's points have been taken by Ukraine, actually Loreen just creeps across the line. Okay, so with all of those pros and cons and fors and against for each of the songs, who at this point in time do I think is going to win Eurovision 2023? With all that information, I think the winner of Eurovision 23 at this point in time will be Käärijä from Finland. Yeah, I think he's going to win the televote. Those stats I've shown you have shown that the televote winner gets more points than the jury. I think that Loreen will probably break that Sweden curse and get into the top 5 in the televote. I think that Käärijä will do okay with the jury, specifically if their criteria has been changed. I think that will help a lot. I think that Ukraine's points will probably be less than last year, and it won't be enough to chip into Käärijä's lead. So that's what, based on the information I have now, that's who I think is going to win Eurovision 2023. Despite that, I do agree with Loreen being favourite. I think the odds right now are a little bit exaggerated. I think when the general public starts voting, I think the odds will get a lot closer, and Loreen will still be in the lead, but it won't be as much. Right now, she's almost triple the percentage chance of winning of Käärijä. I think it's a lot closer than that. Now, lots of stuff to come. We still have to see rehearsals. We have to see what final staging is going to be like, any more performance information. There's pyro, there's lighting tricks, there's camera angles. There's lots and lots of stuff to see that can change. I don't have that information. We don't know what running order is going to be like. Although, even if you are a favorite, if you get drawn in the first half, you still get given 11th or 12th or 13th. And we know that Stefania, Rise Like a Phoenix, Duncan Lawrence, Salvador Sobral, they all won from the first half. So running order is not really so important. More importantly is probably what songs you have either side. Keep in mind that Stefania was followed by 6 ballads, and then after those 6 ballads we had Moldova, and Moldova and Stefania were number 1 and number 2 in the televote. I don't think that's a coincidence that they were the bookends to a very sluggish part of the show. So overall, I think this is a really exciting year. We obviously have these 3 favorites. We also have all these potential dark horses who might come with an amazing show, or something might happen, or all these kind of unpredictable things that make the competition so great. I really hope some of the narrative around the competition can change a bit more to celebrating all these great artists, and how it could be really, really exciting if there's 2 or 3 people in contention to win. A lot of stuff I'm seeing online right now is almost like football hooliganism style, getting behind one person very aggressively, pushing that they're going to win, and arguing with anyone who differs in opinion, and going around leaving comments on people's stuff. It's just not in the spirit of the competition at all. If you look at every single Eurovision motto, it's come together, building bridges, we are one, love each other. It's not pick one person and be really hyper aggressive about being their fan. I don't think the artists approve of that either. I think they all are very supportive of each other, and yeah, I think the narrative needs to be more celebrating the entire competition and not just a personal favorite. In any case, let me know what you thought about my thoughts on how these 3 countries could win or lose. I am going to do that Dark Horses video as well. I need to rest after filming this. This video took me a week. Please make sure you give me a thumbs up. I had to do so much editing on this because the original video got deleted by iMovie. Once I've recovered, I will start that second video. If you want to check out any more analysis videos, I will leave some here for you. Don't forget to leave a comment down below and a thumbs up, and thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in another Eurovision analysis video very soon. Goodbye.